to everyone for coming. Today I'd just like to express certain views that have been propagated through the social media and through the print media of some misreporting and misrepresentation arising out of the recount of the Pandeb elections. As we all know, the National Court and of course the Supreme Court has ordered a recount of all the ballot papers that were counted in 2017. During that count of the ballots in 2017, the majority of the people elected me with about 24,000 votes, thereby beating Don at about 18,000. The issue has been then that I and my party, People's National Congress, have been accused of derailing the election and rigging the elections during the 2017. However, during the recount, it has been shown that nothing of that nature has occurred. The recount showed that the counting process was done correctly and that I scored the majority in a proper way. During the recount, they have not discovered some irregularities in the counting process. People, including the former member, have accused me and the party of rigging by stuffing his ballot papers into my tray, thereby increasing my margin. But that was not found to have happened. When they did the recount, the scores that I scored remained, and the scores that he scored remained the same. It never changed because of those kind of illegal practices. And so the allegations they have raised have been proven not to have actually occurred. I scored a bit lower during the recount was because votes that were cast for in my favor were removed pursuant to a court order which removed 5 boxes, totaling over 5,000 ballot papers. Me, despite losing over 5,000 ballot papers, out of which I may have lost a good number of 2,000 or 3,000 papers, I still led in the recount all the way in the recount until when they count 3 contentious boxes. These 3 contentious boxes are from 3 polling places, which were set aside by the returning officer in 2017 because they were hijacked. And as I've always been saying, Don Pole was personally involved in hijacking of those 2 ballot boxes from 2 places called Kaneana and Kinduli. He was driving the open bag of the president for Wage when he committed those crimes. And so that was one of the reasons why those boxes were left. Because the presiding officers filed a report. He challenged that in court and took it to the National Court, but the National Court dismissed that allegation. And so the returning officer's decision remains till this day, until the recount. During the recount, they counted those boxes, despite there being no order. So that's the issue that's going to court on Tuesday. Whether or not the returning officer had any discretion to count, whether there was any order to count those 3 boxes or not, those are part of the challenge which I have filed. And so these are matters that are coming up in court on Tuesday. I don't want to speculate or say anything about it. That's a matter for the courts to deal with. I respect the judicial process. I've been involved in election petitions and electoral processes for over 30 years. And that's the experience I bring with it. And I've always believed in doing what is right by the law. And so as to why it was counted, even though the returning officer had made the decision on the 10th of March not to count those 3 boxes, and then reverse this decision again, it's a matter for the returning officer to explain to the court. We will leave all that process to the court. But generally speaking, the recount showed that there was no rigging illegal practices committed during the counting in Wabe. And so I think that's a pass for me. And I think the electoral process that we have been accused time and again that there was rigging, and that Don is saying I should have lost, but because of rigging, now he is lost because of the votes. So people have decided, so he must respect the wishes of the people. People have decided that he should not be their leader, so be it. I can force myself to wanting to be a leader when the people decide against me. And so I will always respect the wishes of the majority. And I think that's the way politics should be played. When we try to do gymnastics and do illegal practices and corruptly trying to get ourselves into the parliament, you then become immune to being answerable to the population. And so I always believe, when he was a member of parliament, I always challenged because of a lot of hijacking and rigging that went on. And I always won and came back to court, and court always did the right thing. So I believed that our independence of our judiciary and the judicial process to protect the integrity of the electoral system. And so it's a very important. So now it's part of that step that after the results were tabled in the national court, the court wants to make a determination whether it is accepted or not. That's a matter we will leave it to the court. And until the court decides, we all must respect the process as it is, not trying to influence at every opportunity to try to influence the process and the system. And so I will appeal to everyone that we must all respect the process, allow the process, not try to post all manner of posts on the Facebooks and YouTubes and all of that to influence a certain outcome. And I think that's not what's needed. We have to respect the process. It's only when we respect the process, the system will look after all of us fairly and squarely. I think that's all I've got to say for today.